4 weeks now, swarms of unidentified drone aircraft have been spotted in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Oregon, Los Angeles, the East and the West Coast. These drones fly at night. They're undetectable by radar. They're undetectable by heat signature. The military has even reported that the second they get these things in their sights, they go dark and begin performing evasive maneuvers. So far, no drones have been confirmed to be shot down or recovered, despite the fact that dozens of them at a time are following and harassing Coast Guard vessels, policemen, all kinds of things.
Yeah, the most disturbing part is that they're often seen over military installations and critical infrastructure. The crafts are reportedly as large as a car and much larger and more sophisticated than consumer drones, leading to speculation that this is a military threat. The Department of Homeland Security actually held an emergency hearing on the issue where they say the U.S. government has absolutely no idea what they are or whose they are.
Yeah, and the Department of Homeland Security may not know where they come from, but New Jersey House Rep Jeff Van Drew says he has very reliable and inside information that the drones come from an Iranian mothership staged off the East Coast. His allegations are sort of that drones are Chinese made and were sold illegally to Iran. But it's important to note Jeff Van Drew is on the Transportation Committee, the Aviation Subcommittee, and has pretty deep ties to local and federal intelligence that, might know something that we don't.
Maybe, but unsurprisingly, the comments have been decried by the Pentagon, who says no. The government has denied that the flying objects come from Iran or any other foreign entity, which has led to speculation that the crafts were either a military test, which would not explain why they've been harassing government boats and facilities, or some online have speculated that they're alien aircraft.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of fueled by one point, which we haven't touched on yet, is that the drones are often actually seen coming out of the water. This echoes a number of congressional reports on UAPs, better known as UFOs, from earlier in the year, where the government admitted that a lot of the UAPs that the military are seeing are transitioning seamlessly from the air to the water and oftentimes rise out of the water before they begin tracking or viewing military warships. So there's kind of a very odd similarity between the two.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, the government has not confirmed that these aircraft are extraterrestrial in nature, but at the same time, they've not ruled it out. This comes years into a slow drip feed from the government of bigger and bigger revelations on unidentified aircraft.
Yeah, and Ben, I mean, after, I think it was last year, China was spotted with a kind of hilariously obvious spy balloon floating over America. We pretty easily shot that one down. I don't know. Do you think that China has the technology to even make, much less sell, this kind of air, land, and sea vehicle?
Maybe the hot air balloon was an elaborate ruse to disguise the fact that they have these car-sized drones flying around. I don't know, Tyler, ultimately. China does make some advanced technology, but there are other areas where they seem to lag behind, so it's really hard to say.
Well, and despite a lot of the reporting, when you actually see images of these drones, they don't appear otherworldly. They have lights on them that are pretty standard for aircraft, that they're shining big bright lights everywhere, but this looks like technology that's reasonably achievable for a standard a modernized country, right?
Yeah. It seems to me the simplest explanation would be that they are Earth made. We have plenty of drone technology right now, so it would be more logical, at least for now, to assume that this is something that humans made minimally.
Yeah, but I mean, so maybe the weirdest part of this is that we're seeing local officials. Even recently, one of the local officials has been sending out their own drones to go and follow these. But to see, this New Jersey House rep come out and say no, here's what we think we know based on the information. and for the Pentagon and the White House and intelligence to just totally shut it down and say, like, we're not going to talk about this at all. To me, in a lot of ways, that says that this is American. Because if this was a foreign threat, right? Like even with the Chinese balloon, we shot it down and we did that pretty quickly. I don't think that we would just downplay, 50, 100 more. I mean, we've seen ginormous swarms of these. If these were foreign, I think there would be a military response.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable. Yeah. Now, again, this doesn't exactly explain why they're harassing law enforcement vehicles or looking at military installations. But yeah, it would make sense that this is something that we're doing, and therefore we don't want to talk about it.
So I think, there's been a theory being floated around, and I think this one might have the most validity to it, which is that these drones match pretty closely to the kinds of drones that we know would be looking for radiation. And this is a little bit niche, but the idea would be that if a dirty bomb or something had been smuggled into the country and we weren't sure where it was, then we would send out all of these drones that sort of send out pings towards, the earth and try to locate where this bomb is, because it would be giving, mild amounts of radiation out before it went off, which would make sense why it was at military bases, why it was at like ports of entry. It doesn't quite make sense why they're coming out of the sea or chasing down vessels and stuff. But to me, that kind of had the most validity so far in terms of what we've heard.
Yeah, that would at least explain where they are and why the government doesn't want to talk about it. So that's, I think, a compelling theory. So Tyler, you do not think that this is Iran?
I think that if this was Iran, either we would be seeing a massive response here, where we would be going after these drones very, very aggressively, or we would be seeing military action in Iran, and not necessarily like a boots on the ground invasion, but that you would be hearing that, maybe one of our proxies had blown some stuff up, or that jets had done X, Y, and Z, or, the base where these drones are manufactured had gotten blown up in an accident, right? Like we would be hearing something. So the fact that there is kind of this, unexplainable like quietness about the entire thing, that leads me to think America.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I guess at the end of the day, all we can do is wait and see how this otherworldly plot unfolds.